the Robesonian Sports Report with Chris Stiles on 97.1 FM, 1340 AM, WAGR in Lumberton, covering sports for Robeson County. Now here's your host, Chris Stiles.
And welcome inside the Robesonian Sports Report here on WAGR on a Thursday morning. I'm your host, Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian. Here, time for a half-hour glance at local sports in Robeson County as covered by the Robesonian. Through the first segment here, going to look at a few things that are going on here the last few days, and then later on in the show, I'm going to look ahead to high school basketball season locally on the boys' side. But starting off with perhaps the biggest story of the last week is Saturday's football result for UNCP. It was their regular season finale, and the Braves earned a 68-21 win over Concord. If you like record-breaking performances, this was the game for you. The Braves team setting the program record, the school record for most points in a game with the 68-point performance, and also clinching their most points per game for a season with 40.4 for the 10 games this fall. Sincere Baines set an individual school record with 5 rushing touchdowns. Ray Freeman did so with 4.5 tackles for loss on his senior day. And then for the season, Ja'May Blank, the great defensive end, had 12.5 sacks, which is also a program record. It was 17-7 UNCP at halftime. They had actually left some points on the board, if you can believe that, in the first half. And Coach Hall, Mark Hall, saying kind of was disappointed at halftime and kind of gave some. He said people outside probably were wondering what's going on in the locker room. Kind of some fiery remarks apparently, but the team certainly responded with 51 points in the second half to run away with it quite literally. Sincere Baines, as I mentioned, 5 rushing touchdowns. The fifth one tied a single game team scoring record with 66 points. And then Concord actually lined up to punt, and the first punting attempt, bad snap, went out the back of the end zone, but UNCP had been offsides, and so Concord got another chance. Then they did it again, another bad snap that the punter actually recovered, but just ran out of the back of the end zone to give up the 2 points, and so that gave UNCP the scoring record with 68. Braves in the season certainly on a high note. Over the last 4 games, they've outscored their opposition 222-28. The 222 points offensively completely shatters a 4-game record of 185 from back in 2011 for the program. And then the 28 points allowed is the least in a 4-game stretch since the Braves allowed 23 in a 4-game stretch spanning the 2014 and 15 seasons. Certainly just a historically strong stretch here to end the year. 7 wins is the team's most since 2016. And Coach Hall came in here looking to turn the program around, expressly stated that from day one that the goal was to win championships, the Mountain East Conference, and then what will also eventually be Conference Carolina starting in 2025. But he believes the resources are in Pembroke to do so. And nothing in the year 1 results suggests that won't soon be the case. This is certainly a program on the rise. They were 3-3, but had hit a couple of snags in Conference Champion Charleston was one of the games they lost, as well as a couple more. But certainly built throughout the season, got stronger every week. Even through the 3-3 stretch, you could kind of see that developing, and then certainly at the end. And they've got a great group coming back from this strong finish, or presumably coming back. Never know nowadays with the transfer portal the way it is, but they have a good group set to come back, we'll put it that way. And so certainly should be a team that's going to make a lot of noise next season as well in the Mountain East Conference as they wrap up this fall campaign with a 7-3 record. Elsewhere on the UNCP campus, or not literally on the campus, they've been on the road, but the men's basketball team played a couple games over the weekend. a 71-69 loss at number 6 Lincoln Memorial, and then bounced back Sunday with a 70-64 win over USC Aiken. In the LMU game, the Rail Splitters scored the last 6 points of that game to win by 2. The UNCP couldn't convert with they had about 3 scoring chances in the last 15 seconds or so. Saw some video. There was a lot of contact there, but that's that happens. But nonetheless, couldn't get the ball in the basket there. Elijah Cobb had 16 points, 8 rebounds in that game. Javante Waverly, Juwan Carr, Josh Birnbaum all in double figures, so a balanced scoring effort. 40 points in the paint for the Braves in that game. And I'm not a moral victory guy. I'm sure Drew Richards isn't either, the head coach. But it does bode well to play such a strong game and lose so narrowly in Harrogate, a place that's always been hard to play for anybody that goes in there against the Rail Splitters, who are a top 10 team. And then Sunday, the USC Aiken game, UNCP led 50-48, and Aiken had the momentum at the time, and then UNCP kind of turned it on there and finished strong. Another good game for Juwan Carr. He had 20 points. Nigel Verdere had a double-double, 14 and 11. Bradley Haskell had 11 points. And Elijah Cobb narrowly missed a double-double, 9 points and 11 boards. So another pretty balanced effort. And some of those names I didn't mention in the LMU segment. So lots of guys on this team can go for a big night any given time. Braves are rebounding well early. If you've been around the program, that's no surprise. But plus 16 and plus 13 in those last 2 games on the boards. They're going to fall in the poll after the coaches' poll after starting the season 8th in Division II because they do have a couple of losses to LMU and previously to Florida Southern on the road. But those aren't quote unquote bad losses to quality competition on the road. A couple of quality wins as well. So I would expect when the new poll comes out, they'll stay probably in the top 20 or so, and certainly capable of playing their way back into the top 10 later on in the season. Braves play Saturday at Tusculum up in the mountains of Tennessee, and then they'll have their home opener Tuesday against Fayetteville State coming just down I-95 as the Broncos visit the Braves. Again, it's Tuesday night. Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, going over some recent sports happenings in Robeson County. And the UNCP women's basketball team has played 3 games over the last 5 days or so. The Lady Braves started their season Saturday with a 74-67 win over Coker, lost 69-63 at 14th-ranked Wingate, and then lost as well last night 72-67 at Fayetteville State. In the Coker game, UNCP trailed by 10 points at some point in each of the first 3 quarters, but kind of clawed their way back, got it close, and then eventually took the lead by the end of the third quarter and pulled mildly away in the fourth to win by 7. Kalea Hall, 25 points and 4 assists. Great game for her. Hannah Russell, 18 points and 5 rebounds. And Zaria Clark, 14 points and 5 rebounds. In the Wingate game, UNCP trailed by 15 a couple of different times, but got as close as 63-60 in the late going of that game before Wingate hit some free throws to ice it. Another good game for the 3 players I just mentioned. Zaria Clark, 16 points and 8 rebounds in this one. Kalea Hall had 15 points, 3 steals, and Hannah Russell nearly had a double-double with 11 points, 9 rebounds. Kelsey Adams also had 11 points. So Zaria Clark, Kalea Hall, known commodities doing what they do, but John Haskins wanted more production and more consistency from Hannah Russell in the post, and the Braves certainly got it in those 2 games in the Conference Challenge, that event they played in Coker. And then last night at Fayetteville State, I said FSU in my notes, and I said Florida State there. At Fayetteville State, another close one, and this one the Braves weren't able to pull out, as I mentioned, 72-67, but some of the same faces again. Kelsey Adams, 18 points, great game for her with 8 rebounds as well. Kalea Hall had 15 points. Hannah Russell, who, talking about consistency, she's been consistently good so far, 10 and 5 last night, and then Zaria Clark had 9 rebounds in that game. So Lady Braves I didn't write the schedule down here in front of me, but they've got some games coming up. St. Augustine's comes here to Pembroke on Saturday. And UNCP women's soccer playing in the NCAA tournament this evening against second-seeded Catawba. That's up in Salisbury. This is after the Braves won their third straight conference tournament championship over the weekend. It was a 2-1 win over Belmont Abbey in the tournament final. Belmont Abbey had been the only Conference Carolinas team to win over UNCP during the regular season, so Lady Braves avenging that defeat. They got off to a fast start. Ashley Harris scored in just 34 seconds. Coach Lars Anderson said that's not a program record. They've scored faster than that. But then they scored a second goal 3 minutes into the game, and he said he's pretty sure that is the fastest in his time here that the Braves have scored a second goal in a game. That was scored by local product Abigail Lowry. It was the closest championship game of the three that the Braves have played here in this run. And they also overcame some early season adversity. They sat 3-3 after that loss to Belmont Abbey. In 12 matches since, they've won 9, tied 3, and lost none. And that includes a 1-0 semifinal win over Barton on Friday. As I mentioned, the Braves are at Catawba for the NCAA tournament first round tonight. And you can read more on all of that in the print edition of the Robesonian and at robesonian.com. And we're just getting started here on the Robesonian Sports Report. Shifting gears after the break, we're going to start a look at high school boys basketball over the next couple of segments as the season gets set to start on Friday night. Lumberton coach Bryant Edwards will join us after this. You're listening to the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR. Back on the Robesonian Sports Report, and as we get set to tip off high school basketball season locally here tomorrow night, we're joined by Lumberton boys basketball coach Bryant Edwards over the phone. How's it going, Coach?
What's up, man? You doing all right, man?
Yep. Season opens tomorrow. You guys have Fairmont at home. So what's kind of the atmosphere, the vibe around the program been like here leading up to the season?
It's actually kind of I want to say new territory. It is new territory for Lumberton. We got a lot of young faces mixed in with like some veteran talent, but the vibe around schools it's a little different. Everybody's excited. Got some everybody's with the anticipation of how's Lumberton going to be. We've had multiple 25 or 20 plus win seasons the past few years, and everybody's got question marks how the Pirates are going to be. So, we're going to be young, we're going to be scrappy, but I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, what will the fans see this season from this team as it takes the court?
They're going to see a lot more of the long ball. They're going to see a lot of threes being shot. To be honest with you, we're going to be a smaller team. We're going to be a quicker team. We're going to get a lot of shots up, and we're going to have some fun with it. We got a lot of young guys, so when it comes to a lot of the grinding and banging that you've seen the past few years, we've had a lot of bigger and stronger and physical guys. Well, this year we've kind of had to flip the script, and coaches, you got to coach who you got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like I can run the same thing I've been running for the past however long. I've got to switch it up a little bit, and it's been an adjustment, but it's been a good adjustment. And for us coaches, it's kind of like a new wave, and it's kind of give us like a new boost of energy to coach something new and try something different. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And with a team like this, the leadership from the upperclassmen can be that much more important. So guys like Jaden Shepard, Nakoma Scott, Damian Robinson stepping into a larger role as well. How key will that be for the leadership that they can provide?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be huge. The only one that's got actual major minutes up under his belt, especially in playoff runs, is Jaden Shepard. Finished with 18 against Richmond in the playoffs last year, and he's going to be expected to carry on a major role on this year's team. But Damian Robinson's got experience, Nakoma Scott's got experience, but they're being asked to step into much larger, bigger roles, and they're up for the challenge. I mean, they're motivated. They've been in the gym every single day, and Nakoma's been there every day, motivated since football's been out. So you know, having them to help, you know, bring these young guys along. They're having a lot of fun with it. We're having a lot of fun with it, and you know, definitely looking forward to it.
And among those younger guys, who are some of the ones who you expect to make an immediate impact?
You know, Amari Jones from the JV team, he's going to step into a decent role of the point guard position. He can carry a lot of the reins from what JB and 3J's kind of brought down. And he's only a sophomore, but then you got a lot more sophomores and freshmen that's going to be, you know, playing good minutes. You know, you got Chris Hammonds, 6'5" sophomore that's going to be playing a lot of minutes. You got let's see, both the freshmen, Nate Lawson, they're going to be playing heavy minutes. Even though they're smaller, they're still, you know, they're playing really efficient basketball right now. So, you know, they're stepping up to some very large shoes to fill as freshmen. And then, you know, we're going to start Izzy Perkins, you know, the 6'6" freshman down on JV for one game, but I don't see him there very long.
Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, and we're joined by Bryant Edwards, head basketball coach at Lumberton. And you guys have played, since you've been the coach at Lumberton, you guys have played in 3 Robeson County shootouts. You were kind of the favorite in each of those, have won it twice. This year the field probably a little bit more wide open between your younger roster and then some other talented groups from around the county as well. But what are kind of some thoughts as your team heads there in a few weeks?
You know, that's definitely one of our first goals. Team goals is to win the shootout. It's an exciting time of the year. We always look forward to it. You know, it's a great environment. The community loves it. And you know, this year it's going to be interesting. You know, past few years we have been expected to win the shootout, and we've been pretty successful in the shootout. But you know, this year with, you know, Fairmont's got a seasoned roster. You know, you got Red Springs bringing a lot of guys back. You got St. Paul's with, you know, Tyson over there who carries a big load. You know, there's some talent in the county, and then you add, you know, Pinecrest and White, won some other teams into the shootout. This, I think it's gonna be interesting. You know, if I had to pick a favorite, I don't know who to say. You know, so that's
I don't either.
I'm talking about from a fan perspective. So, you know, I think it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be each game's gonna be tight. I don't think there's gonna be many blowouts.
And several guys from your program are now playing college basketball. J.B. Brockington getting his start here as the season's underway at Mount Olive. You got a D1 guy with Charlie Miller, and then several others as well. So how exciting is that for the program, and what does that do for the program, having those guys that are yours that have gone on to success at the next level?
Oh, man, it's awesome to watch, especially, you know, keeping in touch with them. And you know, we got 6 seniors from last year's team. All of them's playing college basketball. Except PJ. You know, PJ's he's in the Army, so he's doing well. He's gonna be coming home in the next week or two to visit, and looking forward to seeing him. But you know, he's doing awesome. You got Aham, he's playing at Methodist. Jacob playing at St. Hills, doing well. JB at Mount Olive, doing well. Trey's doing well where he's at. You know, he's averaging like 14 and 10 right now, so he's really producing where he's at. And you know, so, and Kobe, he should be cleared in the next month or two, and we're going to get him back underway. And there's a few schools already reached out, you know, to get him locked in for next year. So, you know, we've got guys that are, you know, starting to really produce and really blossom at the next level, which is, you know, our main goal. Like, hey, help them be successful outside of Lumberton.
And hard to believe it's your 5th season at Lumberton. You and I actually got here at the same time. And looking back to that first season, it ended up as a co-state championship with you guys set to play in the state championship game, and then COVID shut everything down that week. So kind of a bittersweet ending at the time, but looking back, how do you look back at all that team was able to accomplish?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talk about it all the time. You know, I got pictures from that team. I still got the state championship ring. We got the banners in the gym. I talk to 3J and Jordan, all them, you know, Mike all the time. So, you know, we always go down memory lane, and we always talk about it, and we always reminisce on those times. And, like, with this young team, it's kind of funny. Me and the coaches were talking yesterday. We were like, dang, fellas, like, y'all realize we're the only 4 that are up there in that picture in the state championship picture. Like, none of these players experienced it. There was a few that went to the game as fans, but like they were like little kids in elementary school, middle school, and it's kind of weird. But at the same time, they all want to taste that success. They don't know how to get there. We're having to teach them, from square one, how to win. So, going down memory lane's awesome, and we always love that. But the other day, with this young team film session, I turned on the game versus Pinecrest in the Eastern Finals, and that's what we watched. This is how we run this. This is what we do here. This is how, and, it's kind of like seeing what we do, how successful it can be. This is the level we want to be at. Now let's go make it happen type stuff. And it got them motivated. So, using the success we've had in the past to motivate these guys in the future is, definitely something that hopefully will work.
Yeah, 19-point win in the East Regional Finals. Certainly a clinic on what Lumberton basketball is and wants to be. And from that Saturday game, when the biggest thing that seemed unusual was that there was hand sanitizer on the media tables, and then 5 days later, the world shuts down. What recollections do you have from that week? Everything changed. It wasn't just basketball, but as it pertains to the state championship game, what are some of those memories as some tough decisions were made and unfortunately for you guys?
There was a lot of tough times during that span of about 4 days, from uncertainty to guys just wanting to, like, coach, we really want to finish this thing, to having to tell them in the locker room, like, fellas, it's not going to happen. It's just seeing their heartbreaks and everything they worked for. It was like just stripped right from under them, and it was hard to be a part of. But at the same time, the fact that we were able to be a part of it was miraculous and was awesome. Yeah. So it's something they'll talk about the rest of their life. Something I'll talk about the rest of my life, and for every coach, I wish for every coach they can experience, what we experienced. For a team like us that was, not supposed to make it past the second round through Apex Friendship to make it to state championship, that's, for a coach, it's like a very good storybook that I wish every coach can experience.
And one more question from that team, and Jordan McNeil is the all-time leading scorer at Lumberton. And you and I talked a couple months ago about how his buy-in really changed things for that team. Tell us about that and how big that was, especially his buy-in on the defensive end.
Oh, absolutely. And that, I use Jordan every year since he's walked out of our program. He's been my number one example of, if Jordan McNeil can buy in, anybody can buy in. From me being told by multiple people he is one kid that will not buy into what we're doing, to absolutely him breaking down and telling me, Coach, whatever it takes to win, let's make it happen. So, me and him, we had a great relationship going into it, and it was a little rocky start for about a week or two, and then all of a sudden me and him just got together like, hey, we can't do it without each other. Let's make something great happen your senior year. And whenever he flipped the script and started defending, and all of a sudden his decision making and shot making ability and the shots he started creating went up, and his assists went up, and everything. Just our team got way better whenever he bought in. So when that happened, it was just like endless what could happen with our team, and everybody just fell into place once he just bought in.
And you're a big Kobe Bryant guy, perhaps apropos since your name is Bryant. But what's kind of the origin of that fandom, and what was it that you loved so much about Kobe Bryant?
I was a Kobe Bryant fan since I was 7 years old when he got drafted in '96, and I was 6 years old. And from day one, his name was on the back of a jersey. It said Bryant, and that was my name. And, my parents would buy me the jersey, and even though Kobe wasn't Kobe Bryant until about year 4, it was still, that was my favorite player because he had my name. And, just the determination, the hard work, the everything he represented, stood for. I've tried my best to implement that on everything I do. I mean, a lot of people take me as, hard to play for, hard to get along with, or hard to do things for. But, you ask every player that's ever played for me, like, I'll do anything for any of them. I will not let any one of my players settle for anything less than everything they got. And as long as they give me everything they got, it's not about wins and losses to me. I know what it takes to win, but I also know how to lose. I'm not a sore loser. I understand how to lose. I've got my share of licks my first few years of coaching at South Columbus, and it's not about wins and losses. It's about these guys just give everything they got. And I tell my guys all the time, they got to do two things for me and two things only. If they do these two things, you'll be successful. You'll have fun here at Lumberton, even though it's really hard. One, you got to trust me. Two, you got to play hard. That's it. You do those two things, we'll win games.
Coach Brian Edwards, thanks for joining us here on the Robesonian Sports Report.
I appreciate it.
And we'll be right back after this. And back on the Robesonian Sports Report. And through the football season, in the last segment, we used it each week to preview that week's games. And kind of similar path here that I'm going to take with today's show is that we're going to look at, but not single games, we're going to look at entire seasons that are coming up for high school boys basketball locally. I'm just going to go through the teams here in alphabetical order, starting with Fairmont. The Golden Tornadoes were 7-18 a year ago, 4-8 in conference play, but showed some flashes. Certainly, a couple of big wins they had the second half of the season. Wasn't necessarily a lack of talent issue. It was a lack of consistency and kind of a younger team, but almost that whole team comes back. They had one senior, and then I'll add to that Xavier Johnson is no longer with the team, but who was underclassman of the year in the county last year, but the rest of the team is back. And with that group back, Coach Montrell McNair hoping for a big step forward from this group. Landon Cummings was a double-digit scorer last year. Him alongside Isaac McKellar, Gabriel Washington, and Demaja McCray in the backcourt. Good backcourt core for them. Tyreek Thompson and Josiah Billings in the front court. And then a couple key newcomers in A.J. Stevens and Caleb Daniels. So this team's goals, Coach McNair said, improve in every statistical category from where they were last year is what they want to do. And he said those things will come from playing together as a team and sharing the basketball. The rest will take care of itself. Golden Tornadoes open Friday at Lumberton as they look to return to, this was obviously the county's best program for quite a while, back 5, 10, 15 years ago. Most seasons it was everything ran through Fairmont here locally. The Golden Tornadoes looking to return to those glory years here in the 2023-24 season. The team they'll face on Friday is Lumberton. The Pirates were 24-6 a year ago, 13-3 in the United 8 Conference, and reached the third round of the state playoffs. This is a very different looking team, though, from what they had last year. The whole core of this team, for the most part, has graduated. The lone returning starter is Jaden Shepard, who averaged 6.6 rebounds a game last year. Damian Robinson and Nakoma Scott are returners that will have bigger roles in the front court. Nakoma, of course, the Division I football commit, going to Davidson for the Pirates. But young guys, including sophomore forward Chris Hammonds, guard Amari Jones, and then 4 freshmen are on the varsity roster as well. But nonetheless, the same goals as previous years, and Coach Edwards just talked about this a little bit in the last segment. They want to win the shootout. They want to contend for a conference championship. They want to win the conference tournament. And Coach Edwards has shown the capability to do those things even with larger turnover from year to year, some years in the past with Lumberton. So it'll be interesting to see what this younger group is able to do, how much growing pains they may have. But this is a very talented team even if they do lack on the experience side a little bit right now. But as they gain that experience, it'll be interesting to see too how they improve throughout the season as well. Purnell Sweat is coming off its first state playoff appearance since 2012 last season. They were 12-14, but they were 9-5 in conference play. Lost in the first round against Richmond, who made a deep run. Much of that core, though, from last year has graduated for the Rams. Jeremy Sampson saying this will be a scrappy team, trying to find leadership at this point. Returning guards, including Colin Sampson, who is Coach Sampson's nephew, Colin Locklear, Tim Locklear, Darius Bethea, Zach Harris. Those are all guards, not a big team collectively, though they certainly have one big body with Jody Freeman, who a big piece of the offensive line on the football team, 6'5", 6'6", over 300 pounds, just a big dude. And then they're going to have younger contributors in Simeon Lennon, Raymond Cummings, James Ethan Bullard, and a couple sophomore transfers in Jeremiah Barnes and Aiden Clueless. Rams started 0-6 last year before kind of finding it in conference play, hitting their stride, and taking that to a playoff berth. Coach Sampson says this season could kind of have a similar flow to it just because they're younger, team trying to find its footing with some experience here in the early part of the season, and they're playing some good teams in the non-conference as well. So one note for the Rams, their opener was supposed to be Friday at East Bladen. That has been postponed due to the Eagles making a deep football playoff run and having a game on Friday and not quite having their full personnel on the basketball team just yet. It will be played at a later time. So the new opener for Purnell Sweat won't be till after Thanksgiving, November 28th at Hoggard. Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, and we're talking about Robeson County High School boys basketball, looking at each team. Just a little quick glance at each team, but looking at Red Springs, who won 17 games last year, lost 10. They're 8-4 in the Southeastern Athletic Conference, part of a great four-way battle for the conference title, and lost in the first round of the state playoffs. Quote from Coach Glenn Patterson Jr., he said, quote, "This is the year on paper that should be a really good year." And the reason he says that, several seniors on this team, including a core of three very experienced guards. Kaydon Porter scored 13 a game last year with nearly 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Makai Arthur was a double-figure scorer last year as well. And Connor Oxenine also at the guard position. And then add Darren Wilkins to the mix as well as somebody who can make an impact in the backcourt. Up front for the Red Devils, not a lot of game experience, but they are an older group and some depth. Justice McMillan, Christopher Murray, Tim Hammonds are all seniors, and junior Jalen Rush should contribute as well. Glenn Patterson Jr. saying conference championship is the goal every year for this program. Hasn't happened his first 2 years with the team. Last year, kind of a couple losses late that really cost them in that pursuit. So he hopes his team learned from that tough finish last year and uses that to hopefully win the conference title this year. And they've got a group that certainly could contend to do so. Another team that could contend for that Southeastern Conference title is St. Paul's, who was just over 500 last year at 16-13, but that record's a little misleading. Played a tough non-conference and then was 8-4 in the Southeastern, and then ultimately won the conference tournament and reached the second round of the state playoffs last year. Another team that's had a lot of turnover, lost 8 seniors, but Coach Corey Thompson really likes this group, and that includes his son, Defensive Player of the Year from last year in Robeson County, Tyson Thompson, who averaged 8.5 points, 7 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks per game as a freshman. He's back for his sophomore season. Very tall, huge wingspan, great athletic piece there down low for the Bulldogs. There's other experience on this team as well, from upperclassmen in Jordan Cook, Jameer McMillan, Markeon Fletcher at the guard position. Jamarcus Smith is a forward with some experience. Chris Bryant did not play for the Bulldogs last year after transferring to St. Paul's, but does have previous varsity experience at Red Springs. Football his primary sport, but he'll be a piece as well for St. Paul's. And then some younger guys. Theo Setzer's a junior, but not a ton of varsity experience. Tyke Moxonai and Ja'Kai Purcell, those are all guards. And then Donnell Thomas and Josiah Bryant, Chris's younger brother, in the front court. I asked Coach Thompson his team goals, and he said it's the same as every year. They want to win the state championship. It's a lofty goal, but one that he feels is a worthy goal for this team. And they open Friday at home against Douglas Byrd. The Bulldogs do. So getting set to get started here in high school basketball season, and a sport that really has been collectively the best sport across the board in Robeson County. There's been good individual teams certainly in other sports, but this is the one that tends to be the most competitive amongst the 5 county schools as far as them, all of them or most of them being good in any given year. And I think that'll continue this year. I think every team has some level of potential. And Coach Montrell McNair from Fairmont, I think, said it best, said this should be an exciting year for everybody, for the entire county in boys basketball. So, and you can read more about this in Wednesday's print edition of the Robesonian, which included high school boys basketball preview as well as UNCP soccer and football content online. And coming up in the Saturday print edition, there's a girls basketball preview still to come. Middle school football championship was held last night, won by St. Paul's. UNCP soccer, their NCAA tournament match this evening. And then once the high school basketball games start on Friday, of course, we'll have game coverage as well. I'll be at the Lumberton Fairmont game tomorrow night. And then we're also in the midst of a run of all-county teams for fall sports being published each weekend. It was volleyball last week, looking to do soccer in this weekend's paper, and then football on Thanksgiving weekend next week. So plenty of content. Even if one of those sports isn't your thing, we've got several sports either just wrapping up or just getting started here in Robeson County. So we've got all that for you at the Robesonian. For Paul Matthews behind the scenes, I'm Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian. Thanks to Brian Edwards for joining us here earlier in the show, and thanks to you for joining us as well here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.